Hey everybody, and welcome to our weekly news show. We're going to talk about all the things that Joe didn't have a chance to tweet about or rant about. And today we are going to start off with something kind of relevant: the whole Star Wars weekend.
Star Wars.
We had some interesting gaming announcements. We're getting a new game coming out at the end of this year. You guys excited?
Yes, we just did a trailer reaction.
Kind of.
Joe's not excited.
Well, there's some problems with this game that are not exactly their fault, and there's some things that are definitely their fault.
I just thought it was hilarious that EA's like, no loot boxes, no microtransactions, as if we should be all like, woo! You know, it's like, come on, man, that's bare minimum. And then they were also like, no multiplayer, and we're like, okay.
That's a selling point?
Yeah.
Well,
now
so
it is.
EA is releasing this game into a really openly hostile market. I mean, Battlefield 2 was a monumental failure.
It's true.
And then it even prompted a mass...
Battlefield, not very good.
Yeah, well, there was a mass petition to have Disney remove the license from EA. And so it was
As they rightly should. And maybe not completely remove it, but at least not monopolize it. Because EA does have the money where if there's fire under their ass, I think they can make better games if there were other people doing it better, like people with passion.
Madden, they took over football, so that's gone.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, is that Respawn does have passion, and I do like that studio. And so while the trailer didn't blow me away, as I said in the trailer reaction, because I kind of wanted to customize my own guy.
Who doesn't?
My own lightsaber. And get a little Jedi Academy multiplayer. But I'm willing to accept it. I just think EA is going to betray Respawn. That's what I think.
There are a lot of reasons.
They're going to be like, it didn't sell well, Respawn. You suck.
Yeah, I mean, they closed Visceral Studios for kind of the same... They promised no loot boxes.
No, not kinda. The exact same thing.
Yeah.
And Amy had to be diplomatic about it. I read quotes from her. It's like, this was 2 years ago, and they had a different mindset. And it's just 2 years ago, Joe, they shut down a studio for wanting to make a single-player game, and then they're like, make a single-player game.
Well, the reason that Amy reportedly at the time that they closed the studios and they canceled the project, they wanted an Uncharted-style Star Wars-themed game, which sounds amazing. But apparently, according to what was reported, it wasn't something that they could turn into a live service and something that they could monetize. Right. So after your first $60 were spent, they were going to get no money out of you, so they canceled. They canceled it, and then they shut the studio down. Then they sent it to a different studio who couldn't do the same thing, and they shut them down as well. So they don't have a lot of goodwill with me to, like, I don't have a whole lot of hope. Now, there are some things that this game has going for it, right? It's being released by Respawn. I mean, they did the Titanfall series. They did a really good job. They've done Apex.
Great single-player campaign, and Titanfall 2.
The person in charge of writing this time is Chris Avallone, who was the writer and lead designer for Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Oh, the writer for Knights of the Old Republic. Okay.
So
didn't know that. Didn't know that.
Games that I really enjoyed. Something that also makes me like this guy a little bit more is he was talking about the research he was doing for this game, and he said that of all the new ones that he's watched, he was particularly disappointed with The Last Jedi. So he gets like plus 1 point from me.
Yes, plus 1 point from me too. How about you, Joe?
Oh, yeah. Anybody who really loves that last one.
Fuck Last Jedi.
Can't be trusted.
Fuck that movie. Unbelievable.
All right, on to games that I do like. There was an interesting set of back and forth between the Pinkerton Consulting and Investigations.
The yellow Red Bull is disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, delicious if Red Bull ever wants to sponsor us. I really like the orange one, though.
Orange one's very good.
What'd you say?
So in December of last year, the Pinkerton Consulting and Investigations Company filed a cease and desist against Take-Two and Rockstar, saying that their company was portrayed as used as villains, hunting the game's protagonists, and they wanted an undisclosed sum of money. They wanted a lump sum plus
they
ongoing
wanted
royalties.
a few $1 million.
They wanted some money. Well,
that's so much bullshit. How can they even fucking prove it's the same Pinkertons? Just because anybody's named Pinkerton now,
that's all it takes.
They're gonna sue your ass.
That's all it takes.
Well, Rockstar and Take-Two, rather than bending, just filed back against them, claiming that We are protected by well-established First Amendment principles that protect expressive work. Put simply, defendants cannot use trademark law to own the past and prevent creators from including historical references to Pinkerton agents in depictions of the American West.
It is true, like, since it was the agency in Pinkerton, so that they were like, that's us, yeah. But apparently, you cannot do that for historical things.
And
so
as
if I want to make a movie about the Pony Express, Joe, you want to make a movie about the Pony Express with me?
Yeah, for all of 6 months that Pony Express existed. Well, as of this week, the lawsuit was dropped, and people were speculating on did they actually pay, did they not pay, but Rockstar let out this statement. Take-Two can confirm that the present-day Pinkerton Consulting Investigation Company has withdrawn its claims, and so they didn't get paid anything.
Good!
Tired
of greedy-ass people. Like, that's no problem if the Pinkertons want to get paid. For like museums and the things like that, but this I think it's history.
They're just
part of history.
Everyone's just looking for a quick buck.
Yeah,
it's fucking ridiculous.
Maybe people aren't hiring Pinkertons all that much right now.
Did you just say the word Joe in your game? Man.
Shit.
Does he get angry in it?
Not your average Joe. He said Joe.
Oh, he said Joe. That's yours.
Eat at Joe's. If that's in a cartoon, they owe you
I tried.
They owe me. They owe me.
Well, they know better.
There's
no one else to eat at your place.
Did you know? I recently figured this out. It was like a year or two ago. Actually, we knew about it. But there's a coffee company named AngryJoe Coffee.
Oh, really?
And I know that. And I think I came first. I came first.
The model kind of looks similar.
Yeah. Which is why I don't mind it. AngryJoe Coffee, keep doing what you're doing, all right? We cool. Let's not sue each other or anything.
Well, in bizarre news this week, there's been a lot of talk about Activision Blizzard's new health monitoring program that they're doing, and people are getting worried about some creepy information being shared with the company.
Yeah, no, I heard about this, and
I'm all for health.
I don't know if you don't. Yeah, exactly. Before, if you don't know, I worked at Dell before I started the AngryJoe Show. And they offered similar programs. I thought it was fucking awesome. So I don't know what everybody's pissed off about.
They're opt-in,
because
which is good.
like I'm telling you, it's important and it makes the employees happier. They get more healthy. They actually pay people to work out. Is that not fucking cool, Joe? I know I would never do it.
Well, yeah, no,
but you do it and you make a lot of money.
Gym membership. I was like, all right, this is fucking awesome.
So. What's going on?
The fears with this is they're using an app called Ovia, and it's specifically with women in the company. It's completely opt-in, so it's optional, but you do get compensated for taking part of it.
It's
about
women?
But for reproductive health. And so they're monitoring, and the app does some interesting things. So it monitors all the details when they're trying to conceive. It's their sleep schedule, diet and weight, as well as...
Wait, what? Trying to conceive? You mean monitoring when they're having sex?
And in what positions?
You're fucking joking.
No.
Why does Activision need to know what positions you have in sex?
This is what the app can do.
For stats.
And
that is one complicated app that can tell whether we're doing doggy or whether we're doing fucking mission.
I mean, I've used
MyFitnessPal,
and it's so awkward. Looking through the scroll down menu, can you imagine having to look up? It's like, where's reverse pile driver in this drop down menu?
How much extra do I get paid for the reverse pile driver?
Customize it, I guess.
There's a favorite. You just going down your favorites list.
That is terrible.
Well, so there's a lot of worries about it because women are often discriminated against the workplace if they're trying to become pregnant because maternity leave and the healthcare expenses are really, really high.
This is not going to help at all.
So it's anonymous data. It's supposed to be anonymous data, but some of the things that people worry about is there was another app called Glow, and Glow had a security flaw where the only piece of information that was needed to access the entirety of the data, and the data was how many alcoholic beverages you have every week, which people get discriminated against, when they had sex most recently and in what position, whether they had an abortion or they had a miscarriage. These are all things that can be used to discriminate against women in the workplace. And so it's not that Activision is collecting this information because they're not. They're collecting aggregate information from everybody.
But it could be compromised and they could access that information.
But the same thing is if there's only two people in a certain department that are pregnant and there only happens to be two women in that department, supervisors could use that information. It could be inappropriate. There was another app called Flow that was used that was sharing its users' personal data with Facebook until the Wall Street Journal had to come out and do a big expose on them before they stopped doing it. So imagine typing in all these things like the viscosity of your cervical fluid, which is one of the things that this records, and all of this really personal, interesting things, and all of a sudden you get ads on your Facebook. It's like, is your Are you not having enough doggy style? Like buy this thing that does the stuff.
Yeah.
No,
After you
that's-
went into detail.
That's ridiculous. That's too far.
It's too far to
Kinda
monitor
gross.
sex positions. Too far to monitor even whether you're having a baby. I don't think that's their fucking business. And it's their business once you do have the baby and you say, hey, I got to take maternal leave because we decided as a family it's time to have a baby. Right? So I'm in support of any work apps that wants to be like, hey, go work out. We'll give you some discounts or money back or whatever. But anything related to pregnancy, no.
No, that's too.
I think that there's just a really big risk, and I think people are right to be afraid of this kind of data because people do get fired. It's not unheard of. I mean, the ACLU can just come after you if you're an employer that goes, "Oh, you're trying to get pregnant. I'm not giving you that promotion."
I don't like that shit in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, you hear the stuff about in China where they like record your like your social score and shit.
Yeah.
That stuff where it gets real crazy and they start to gamify your loyalty and stuff like that. So
Black Mirror,
no
that's some-
app collection of Angry Joe's data. What Angry Joe does in his data stays in the data. No, I'm just playing.
I like to keep my personal life personal, okay? And I don't want no Black Mirror shit. Like, oh, let me record.
Oh,
Alex.
I love that
Alex,
episode, Joe.
Give you 2 stars down.
Right, where everybody becomes obsessed, and that's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Joe. Like, I don't know if it's still going on in China, but I heard a story a long
It is-
time
it
ago.
is going on right now.
That's some crazy ass shit. That's scary.
Well, so we got other news in with Sekiro. So FromSoft announced that Sekiro sold over 2 million copies in just 10 days. And that's huge for them because the original Dark Souls took a year and a half to hit that number. It took Dark Souls 2 1 year. It took Bloodborne 6 months. Dark Souls 3 went pretty quick. But this game has been really, really successful, and people seem to like
That's
it.
because it builds. It's
love
Dark
torture.
Souls.
Yeah.
It is Dark Souls. It builds on the Dark Souls fan base. So you have the Dark Souls fan base, which is an extremely passionate fan base. And I know that not only from interacting with them because I suck at the game and they make fun of me when I play, and I don't play that shit no more because they're not very nice when you suck. But that's only certain of them. Certain of them are really, really cool, and they just love the lore and they love the passion. But I also know it from the board game world because I think it was Steamforged Games that made the Dark Souls board game exploded in popularity. And when we started our own Kickstarter for our own board game, I sent the dude some email questions, and he was, sharing strategies and stuff. And one of the main ones is like, we have a really passionate fan base.
Yes.
And he knew that he was getting a lot of the video game people who just love the miniatures and the characters within the lore. So I am not surprised at all by those sales numbers, and good on them. I'm sure we'll see a sequel.
I'm hoping that does well, but one thing that would worry me is because Sekiro is getting a lot of interesting press. There's a lot of, where rational conversation happens on like Twitter and Reddit and all those places.
Those are
only the most
best
YouTube comments.
Best
And so,
places for discussion.
Sekiro has a lot of problems because there's this conversation about difficulty versus accessibility.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And then,
I was gonna say
the fans are passionate, but they like to bemoan and belittle and besmirch
Right.
everyone who doesn't like it. And there are people
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I got a lot of hate for not reviewing it and letting Dell review it, who loves those types of games. And I personally...
Yeah, to each their own.
To each their own. Well, I did like Bloodborne, and I'm sure if I tried Sekiro, I would enjoy it. It's just to play it in an extended period of time and then put it in a review context is a lot of pressure, and I hear it's very, very difficult.
It is.
So
You
it'd
will
probably
be
take
mad.
me 80
And
hours.
you will be mad.
And I will be fucking angry.
Yes.
And then guess what that translates into?
Fuck this game.
Sometimes fuck this game when it doesn't deserve it. But you have a different mindset when you play those games. You have to realize that the reward comes from the challenge. And so I understand why some gamers are proud to announce how good they are and how shitty you are.
Well, you have to get good. Yeah, like
Get
noob.
good, noob, right? And I understand it. But as you grow older, you grow out of that, and you realize that, if you don't like hard games, that's cool, man. But if you want to play a hard game, I got a good
But
one.
there's a lot of interesting lessons to learn here because from a design perspective, do you design a game that the story and how much you enjoy the game comes from simply playing it, or is it all from the grind and learning when to parry and like memorizing that move over and over again?
I think developers have a creative right to make a game as hard as fuck. And I like games that are hard as fuck, but they piss me off at the same time.
Yeah.
And so it's a very emotional ride. And then you start to wonder, is this hard as fuck because it's intended to be, or because it's being cheap? And that's an art form, really.
Yeah.
And I leave that up to people that are way better at those types of games than I am, like Dell. But at the same time, I do see people who say, well, you know, I want an easy mode, and I don't think there's a problem with the easy mode. But if the developers say, well, we don't want to make an easy mode, then you shut your mouth because they didn't want to make an
They're
easy
making
mode.
money, and I don't think that,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like it's taken away from their sales.
Right, but I'm just saying, you don't shit on others who still want to, you know, play at the party and they want to play at the kids' table. Let them play at the kids' table. But like I said, if that's not, if the developers have to take time away from the core experience, then fuck no.
Yeah.
You know, just make what you want to make, and there'll be people out there that'll buy it and enjoy it. And if not, then yeah.
Well, they're on pace to break all the records from every other game, so I think that at the end of this month, we will see if it passes up Dark Souls 3.
Damn, Joe,
You're doing a great job.
Joe, we really have got to get in on these, reviewing these.
I really want to watch you two play.
I know. I'm still.
But you in particular, because
I
Sekiro has so many
restarted-
good platforms, and you're going to
Maybe
fail,
I'll
and it's going to be
force.
amazing.
Maybe I'll force Joe to do. The
No,
whole thing
I
for me.
restarted Bloodborne. I didn't finish it because it was fucking.
Oh,
hard,
I
but
remember you
restarted it.
lo-
Did you
really
beat the
liked
first
it.
bad guy, though?
Yes, he
First
beat
bad
the
guys.
first bad
Yes,
guy.
I did do
And
that.
I'll tell you something. And you know, I say I don't like these games, but when I'm playing them,
addicting.
I really
Yes.
fucking
I know,
like
it
them
is very
because
addicting.
when you reach that new level, it's like euphoric. You're like, I have reached. Bro, I've gone Super Saiyan, and you beat all these guys that previously killed you in half a second. You're killing them in half a second, and so I get it. I get the game.
Yeah, that
Good
level
on
of
them for selling a
accomplishment.
lot
You're
of
like, yes, I
copies.
finally fucking did it after a week of fighting this fox.
A week.
Has it been a week? Jesus Christ. It's like, oh, Joe, you're fine. Oh, damn it.
Well, the last thing that we got today is something that's interesting. I know that you're pretty passionate about. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, has announced a workshop in August of this year to discuss and examine issues surrounding video game loot boxes.
Ooh, in the U.S.
In the U.S., yes.
I ain't not talking about no Belgium and others that have done it right, but that's cool.
Yeah.
That's good. But you know what? I can already tell what's going to happen. People with the money, it's going to go over there. EA is going to go over there. Activision is going to go over there. All these companies with the money and try to explain how they're not gambling. It's not addictive, which is all bullshit because it is gambling. Just fucking admit it. I can respect you if you're like if EA walks in there, it's gambling and it's addictive.
So,
Yeah.
But if they do that, we win.
Yeah, I was going to say, case closed. What the fuck? Get the fuck out of here.
fuck out of here.
well, the workshop's titled Inside the Game, Unlocking Consumer Issues Surrounding Loot Boxes. And I imagine they're going to take a lot of international law into consideration. They're going to listen to EA, but they're also with these other things. Now, the workshop's set to cover a variety of things, but what is exciting is the commission themselves are looking for participants, and that the participants can be suggested by you. And you can email them at lootboxworkshop@ftc.gov. And we may know somebody who may want to go to Washington and talk about loot boxes. And
I'll go.
yeah,
Do we
I'll go.
know
I've done.
anybody?
Yes,
Do we-
Joe.
Huh.
His name rhymes with Mo.
Toe?
Ho.
yeah.
I'll go. And I have no problem talking. I've done it before. You remember when
Yep.
I went over for SOPA? If y'all don't know, play a little clip for you here. Old Angry Joe show. I went and fought on your behalf against SOPA. Check it out.
Hello, I'm Corporate Commander. You may remember me from such things as every bad game ever. But don't worry about that. I'm here to talk to you about a very important bill called the Stop Online Piracy Act. You do want to stop online piracy, don't you? Good. Well, this is the only way to do it, giving us, the corporations, full power to take down whatever website we don't like. I mean, whatever website may be infringing content. Internet freedom? Don't need it. So please, go about your daily lives. Everything will be taken care of for you. I promise. SOPA is for the children.
So we had that little funny little promo from from Corporate Commander parroting basically what happens when you give corporations all the power and let them make their own rules. Corporations' problem is their only purpose is to make money, and they don't care who they hurt. So all you really have to do when you get in there, and even if I don't make it there and it's somebody else who makes it there, I want them to not only focus on the gambling addiction, focus on the fact that it is addictive, and then press that keyword, because adults only listen to, old farts only listen to protect our children.
Well, yeah.
If you say protect our children over and over, then that's why I said, SOPA, it's for the children. You know what I mean? But I don't think EA can roll in there and loot boxes. It's for the children. I don't think that's going to work. So somebody needs to go in there and tell them exactly what these things are doing. Because I think there was a study in the UK done that gambling addiction has gone up amongst youth. And
it's the games that they're playing on the phones and apps. I mean, you see 2-year-olds that use stories all the time, or 3-year-olds playing Candy Crush or something. Spends $1,000 because every time they hit that little button, they get the bright flash, and it's horrible.
Time wall. It's like, all right, add some more money. Okay.
No, Joe, nobody goes outside anymore. Nobody plays with G.I. Joes like we used to. Nobody plays, nobody climbs the trees anymore. They're sitting in front of well, there are still some cool kids that do that. But most of them are sitting in front of an iPad all day long. And if that's you, I'm not talking shit about you. I'm just saying, I'd probably be doing the same thing, because I do the same thing now. But you got to get outside every once in a while. Go play with some G.I. Joes, motherfucker. It's fun. But yeah, they sit in front of that all day. They're going to see, even if you're getting rewarded these things for free, just opening that loot box gets you used to that the chemicals releasing in your brain, dopamine, the enzymes and shit.
What we need to do is just make a commercial about like a little kid. It's like, this is little Jimmy. He played some game with loot boxes.
Battlefront.
Like a week later in a coffin. Not even once.
Not even loot boxes. Not even once. Yeah.
Don't let this happen to your kid.
Leave it to Joe. He'll make the best commercial.
Done.
In support.
Oh my God.
We'll take we'll say protect the children. Angry Joe.
Not even once.
Angry Army to protect the children.
Well, if you want to send Angry Joe to Washington, make sure that you email the FTC at this link that we have below, and make sure that you recommend him.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time when we talk about the news.
All right. Sweet. See you guys next time. Bye. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification button.
And check out the link below for some of our awesome merch.
Sweet. Thank you so much, guys. See you on the next one.